Hello everyone, so this is a quick video on the how laser cutter works to create our project, which is the clock face design. So I know that laser cutter is kind of an advanced machinery that not everyone has an access to, but even if the school or yourself doesn't have one, I mean, last time I checked the personal laser cutter, one of those desktop one, it was like $8,000. So obviously almost everyone cannot afford that, right? So even if you don't have one or your school doesn't have one, you still can go to websites like Ponaco, like here, and then upload your design, and then they're gonna cut the laser with the materials of your choice. They can even cut the steel and things like that, and then they're gonna ship it back to you. So you can always use this kind of a service, online service, if you wanna make some kind of a tangible object from your design, or local makerspace. So has makerspace Charlotte have laser cutters and things like that. So makerspace is like it's like you can think of it as like a gym for like artists and then people who are into the crafting. So this, you usually pay like a membership fee. So the one in Greensboro, I pay about $51 to get an access to all these different machines, laser cutters, CNC, 3D printers, and wood shops and things like that. So if you're really into that, you can also get like a membership here, and then you can turn your design into tangible products or artworks. So that is it with the laser cutter. So let's get into the laser cutter. So first, we need some kind of material to laser cut on, because if you don't have a material, what are you gonna do? So the type of the laser cutter that East Carolina University has is kind of it's only 40 watts, so it cannot cut any kind of a metal or anything like that. So I have to use a paper or plywood or sheet of wood or things like that. So for this project, we are using a Masonite, which is a composite board made out of the recycled wood. And even though it doesn't work really well, but because of the thickness, which is 1/8 of an inch, we're gonna use this material so that we can stack up and it doesn't get too fat. We're gonna use this on the laser cutter. So I need to cut my 4x8 sheet into 12x12. And this 4x8 sheet, by the way, costs like $9 at Lowe's or Home Depot, so it's really cheap material. So that's what I'm doing, using that saw, just cutting down, and using the table saw to make it 12x12. Alright, so they're all cut it to 12-inch strips, and now we're gonna have to cut it 12-inch vertically. So let's take it to the table saw. We'll set it to 11 and 7/8. Because you got to compensate that thickness of the blade, and I'm gonna make the blade much higher, and we're gonna get started. Oh, I'm gonna use the jig, so I'm going to make it higher, so much higher. All right, so for this we're gonna use a slat, because this is vertical cut. I don't want to cut my finger off, so this is table saw. And this is not a wood shop class, so you don't have to know all this, but I just wanted to show you guys the process of it. So I'm gonna start my table saw. There we go. Beautiful. Alright, look at all this. So this is what we're going to be used to create our clock face. So they're all 1/8 thickness, and we're gonna take it to the laser cutter, and then we're gonna start cutting. Alright, so now we're gonna go to the shape lab. By the way, this is East Carolina University studio space. So they have a space called Shape Lab, where it has the CNC router and 3 laser cutters. So, oh, it's open. Alright, here we go. That's the CNC router, and these are the laser cutters. So we're gonna put our cutted piece of wood, and then we're gonna start cutting with this computer. So before we use the laser cutter, we have to clean the lens. so that we get a crisp and nice laser. So how about let's go and do that. So I'm gonna turn it on, and it's gonna do like a recalibration. And take a look at this. There's a little internal part that moves, and that is where the laser is going to be reflected and then applied onto the material. There we go. And then I'm gonna pull this up and then pull this out, and then I'm gonna clean this guy. Okay. Clean the lens underneath. And I like to clean this lens here as well, but a lot of people say this is meaningless, but I do it anyway. So it's good to go. Right, so now we're gonna put one of the Masonite board, and then set it aside, and we have to zero the surface. It's kind of telling that where is the top left corner of this artboard is going to be. So we're gonna come over here and hit pointer, and if we do that, you'll notice that there's a little laser that works. I'm not sure you guys can see that. You see that little laser? We're gonna line it up with the top left corner, somewhere right there. It's kind of hard to do with just one hand. So you see that this lined up with the top left corner. Okay, and then next we have to zero the Z. So you need to we're gonna use this little thing right here, and I need to set it up so that it's just barely touching the material. So I'm gonna lower it a little bit so that now it's free hanging. I'm gonna raise it a little bit. Okay, that's much better. So now I'm gonna lock it with the by hitting the go button, so it's ready to be printed. And of course we have to close this first and then turn on the ventilation, but that's gonna be loud, so I'm gonna do it after I set those two laser cutters. Alright, so after putting in the my USB drive, I'm gonna start with the Mohammed's this time. So I'm gonna open up one of the layers, and I'm just gonna open it up with the PDF, and let's take a look what it looks like. Alright, so it looks all good. So what the laser cutter is going to be doing is it's gonna follow all this, I'm not sure you guys can see, all this really thin line. So I'm gonna go to print, just like how you print, and this laser cutter is called Buttercup. So that's the name of this laser cutter. I know, right? And I'm gonna go to properties, and here where you need to put in all the settings. So obviously the piece size is 12 by 12, so 12 and 12 here, and then we are only using vector because we're only cutting so for cutting is vector and for etching is raster. So here we're just cutting, and speed, actually frequency, I'm gonna lower it down to 1000. This is just, it depends on the laser cutter power of this as well. And power, we're gonna need a lot of power for this kind of material, because laser and Masonite doesn't really work well. But if you are to using like a 1/4 inch plywood, you're gonna have to lower it a little bit. And speed, we're gonna have to go really slow. So I'm gonna start with, it's been a while since I used this laser cutter. Obviously I graduated from this school for a while ago, so I'm gonna start with like 15%, and then we're gonna hit OK, and we're gonna hit print. And once I do that, you'll see that it says job Mohammed-1. So all you have to do is just press this go button. Oh, it's just done. I probably did something wrong with the settings, so I'm gonna have to fix that. Alright, so I think I figured it out. I think because it was in a compound path, it was not working. So let's try again. 15, 100, 2500 looks good. Hit print, and Mohammed-1. This, and then we're gonna hit green button. But like I said, this is gonna get really loud, so let me turn on the ventilation. So all the laser cutter has this kind of a ventilation because it's basically the laser is burning wood to create a cut. So we need to turn this on. Oh, it's not too loud. And let's hit green button to start the cut. and it didn't work. Come on, what's going on here? Alright, so let's try it again. Hit button, and now it's gonna start cutting our shape with using the laser. There we go. There's a nice rectangle right there. That is very cool. So that's how the laser cutter works. Alright, so it just finished printing, so let's check it. That's looking good. So we gotta check and see if this thing went all the way through. So it looks like it did. So let's pull it out. Woohoo! There we go. It looks like it didn't quite go all the way in, but that's totally okay. So we can always break it off later on. So here we go. Now look at this. Look at this piece. That's cool, right? So here's how the laser cutter works. Also, with the laser cutter, we can also engrave. You see how crazy this thing goes? So that's how you can engrave some raster image into it as well. Alright, so this is how it looks so far. Turned out really nice. And yeah. It took forever. Alright, so right now I'm finishing up printing everyone's layers, and then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna drop off these. I'm gonna make a little box for everyone, and in that box you're gonna find this clock movement kit, and it comes with like handles as well. So for those of you who made their own clock hands, which is awesome by the way, you're gonna have to retrofit one of the part that it comes with. So let me change the there we go. So for the minute hand, I mean for the hour hand, you're gonna be able to just stick it in right there. But for the minute hand, you are going to have to use one of these. So what you're going to do is you're gonna have to scratch up this place a little bit so that it adheres well with the surface. So if you have like a sandpaper, just give it a nice rub, or if you don't have that, just get like a blade and then start scratching on this top so that it has this kind of a rough surface to adhere on the surface. And what you're going to do is let's just pretend that this is your minute hand. Just glue it just like that right on the underneath the minute hand, and then you'll be able to just stick it into the clock movement kit, and then it'll work. Depends on the weight of your minute hand, but I see that a lot of yours is not that bulky, so it might work or might not. But if it doesn't, you can always change it back to one of these. Alright, so I'm gonna make a package, and in that package you have all the layers that you need and this clock movement kit. And then I printed out everyone, since this is such a small class, I printed out everyone's first project in a 13 by 19 photo paper so that you guys can, hang it up on your wall or things like that. So I think it'll be a nice souvenir. And once I drop those off at the North Campus, you guys gonna have to start making an appointment with one of the faculty there. And once you make an appointment with him, you'll be able to pick it up from the North Campus. And once you do that on the way, when you do that on the way home, grab like a wood glue or something like a little bit better glue than just Elmer's glue. Obviously, wood glue works good, but wood glue it dries really slow. So if you don't like the wood glue, you can always get like a commercial grade general purpose fast drying glue, or epoxies also works very well, like 5-minute epoxy, one of those 2-part one. It also works great. So just get like a really strong adhesive and then start layering this together. And also this is more important, before you do that, you're gonna have to color your layers first and then glue it. So once you glue it with wood glue, there's no going back. I cannot print this again because this is kind of a one-time deal. I was thankful that ECU was able to, let me use their studio, but I don't think they're gonna let me again. So make sure to be careful with your layers. And also the layers that look like really fragile, I print it twice so that if you break it, you have a spare to work with. So, and also make sure to paint it when you're painting it, just to be gentle with it, because some of the layers is really thin. And you can either use spray paint or acrylic paint or any kind of paint that'll dry fast, and then it'll look good. So I recommend using spray paint because it just works better, but spray paint doesn't come with like a different color. So if you want to introduce the color that doesn't come with the spray paint, you're gonna have to mix it up and then apply it with the brush or roller and things like that. So once you paint it, and then you can start gluing together. So make sure that you don't paint the gluing surface. Otherwise it's just gonna break off later on. So don't paint the gluing surface, just paint the front side and the side a little bit. Just don't anywhere that is going to have a contact, just make sure that not to paint that. Anywhere there is overlapping in the surface faces. Okay, so that should be it. Did I go over everything that you guys need to know? Yeah, so if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll see you guys on the next demo video.